Superintendent Wade Stanford, I want to thank you for coming on the show to share your story with our viewers and our listeners. Could you please tell us what's going on in your life and in your K-12 career right now?
You bet, Joseph. And man, I just appreciate being able to come on the show. It's an honor to sit and just visit with you. Right now we're in the summer. A lot of people think that's a time to relax and to
Mhm.
recoup. And there is a little bit of that happens, but we're in the midst of hiring season,
Sure.
building a budget, developing our professional learning for this next school year and really designing the focus that we're going to have. But this last year has been a tremendous year for us. We came through COVID and it was really a struggle, but what we focused on this past year was really empowering the voice of every stakeholder in our district, our parents, our community, our staff, our board, and most importantly, our students. And we ended up with really what we feel like is a fantastic year. They've helped us to design how we're going to move forward, and all of this work led to the first successful facility bond in 43 years in our district. And
Wow.
so we're really proud of the work that has happened by our team during this last year.
Wow, that's amazing. 42 years.
Yeah,
Wow.
43
43.
uh,
Okay.
is 43 right now, and only the second superintendent in the history of the school to attempt
Mm,
and pass a bond.
wow. That's amazing. Now,
Now
how
we
big
did
is
have
your
two.
school
We
district?
did have two failed attempts in that, so we had a lot of lessons learned through two times.
Wow. So, how big is your school district? How many students are in your school district?
So we have 1,350 students on the last day of school.
Okay.
That's pre-K through 12. We have four campuses. We have a pre-K through two, a 3 through 6 right now, a seventh and eighth campus, and then a 9 through 12. With this bond, once we finish the construction, we'll take the sixth grade, move it off the elementary campus, and move it to our junior high. Turn that into a middle school campus, and it'll be a sixth, seventh, and eighth grade campus. Give us a little continuity there where
Yeah.
a student has 3 years to be on a campus.
Wow. How long have you been in K-12 education?
So I just completed my 39th year.
Wow.
Don't give me that look. Don't give me that wow look. Yeah. But yeah, 39 years. And,
Amazing.
I would say the majority of them have been great. There's been some
Sure.
struggles. I think that if you're in this business long enough, you'll totally understand that there's been
Sure.
ups and downs, and some of those years have have ended up more struggle than successes. But during this time, I'm probably more energized and more focused than I've ever been. I think we're in a time where leadership is needed,
Sure.
and just really excites me to go to work every day right now.
That's cool. So, what were the main reasons that you chose to work as a K-12 educator 39 years ago?
Well, I can tell you, Mrs. Walker,
Hmm.
sophomore English teacher,
Okay.
Coach Hagler, my biology teacher, were
Wow.
two people that impacted me tremendously and showed me what it was really like to be an educator, to impact lives um, in the classroom, in athletics, and then just outside of school. And I can still remember that during my sophomore year, had the opportunity to work an elementary track meet, and I ran in that track meet as an elementary student, and then in Breckenridge, Texas,
Okay.
and so as a sophomore, had a chance to go and work that track meet, and was helping with that track meet and saw the kids and just the energy, and I fell in love with it. And just to be very honest with you, I
Hmm.
wanted to coach. I wanted to
Okay.
coach,
Yeah. Yeah. That's
and
me too.
so knowing that I wanted to coach, I knew I had to teach. And I
Absolutely.
loved Coach Hagler's biology class. And so sitting in his classroom, second row back of lab tables on the far right hand side, I can remember the day I said, I'm going to teach and coach. And that
Wow.
was the journey right there. And there's never been anything, uh, other than that. And so it's a lifelong passion of mine.
That's amazing. So Coach Hagler had a real influence on your life. Was he your head football coach?
No, he was a head track coach,
Okay.
linebacker coach.
Okay.
Uh, Now, Mrs. Walker, who was my sophomore English teacher,
Hmm.
she really gave me a love for English and reading.
Wow.
She she'd probably be disappointed in me right now because I butcher the English language a lot of times when I talk. So she'd probably be getting on to me, but she was the head coach's wife at that time, and he was not my head coach,
Oh, okay.
but he was going through some struggles. But I watched her handle that with grace
That's amazing.
and just stay above all of the stuff that was happening to him. So she showed me some lessons there about handling things during controversy.
100%. So now let's fast forward. I mean, you've
Yeah.
been in this business almost 40 years, and thank you so much for your service.
Yeah.
What do you like most about being a K-12 educator, and what do you like least about being a K-12 educator?
Well, we'll start with the most, and I think there's two things that really pop to mind. There's the relationships, and
Mm,
those relationships have always been there in the capacity it does in classroom teacher, coach, athletic director, assistant principal, principal, director of HR, assistant superintendent, now superintendent. So
wow.
those relationships have always been there.
Sure.
Was deeper with kids than it is probably now, but still there. And so now the classroom that I'm in now, because I'm still a teacher, the classroom that I'm in is relationships with our board members and really
Mm,
developing deep relationships with them, developing relationships with our parents and our community members, developing relationships with our leadership team, our teachers. And then I'm still committed to developing those relationships with those students. And I tell
sure.
you, it's really, really fun to walk on a primary campus and kindergarten teachers, kindergarten students, first grade students, second grade students know me by name.
Wow.
Now, they do get confused every once in a while because I dress up as Johnny Appleseed and read a Johnny Appleseed book to them. And so a lot of times they call me Johnny Appleseed, but that's also cool. So I think it's the relationship piece.
Yes.
And then I think the other piece that I really, really enjoy, the part that drives me to get up every morning, is solving problems.
Mm,
Uh, Finding solutions to the things that people don't think can happen, to the things that people don't believe we can overcome, the things that give people hope, the things that give people an opportunity to dream
mm.
and to realize things and opportunities they never thought they could have. So
Wow.
I think that part is what those two things really, really drive me. And that's what I really like. The thing I like the least about it is the politics side of it.
Mm, yeah.
We're as you become a superintendent, you fall more into that political side. Not that I'm a politician,
Sure.
but you do have to think how you craft your message. You have to think what the long game is, and then it's spending time with our legislature in Austin, even Washington D.C. Just
Sure.
spending time trying to give them a picture of what we're really seeing. This latest school shooting that we had in
Mm,
Texas at Uvalde. I've spent time with Senator Nichols as our representative on the Senate side, and he's heading up a committee for safety on that side. And so spent about 2 hours with his aides one evening just talking about the challenges that we're facing and the path that I see forward, that we have to look at the root cause of the problems
sure.
instead of setting and saying, let's harden schools, let's get guns in the hands of people on campuses, which
Hmm.
those things are worthy pieces of the conversation.
Sure.
But I think the root cause, and it's what I explained to them. If we just do those things, we're going to miss the root cause. We're going to do
Mm,
what we do a lot of times, and we're going to try to fix a symptom instead of fixing the root cause.
wow.
And so the root cause, as I explained to them, is I think we really need to start looking at mental health. We got to start looking at what's driving these incidents. To
Sure.
start trying to develop systems that are going to allow school leaders and organizations to start getting assistance for those students and that are struggling and have some issues.
That's so true. Superintendent Stanford. The worldwide pandemic has negatively impacted many staff and students in the US and the world. How has the pandemic impacted you, your family, and your school system?
Wow. So you and I visit a little bit. I'm a pretty vulnerable person. I will share, and my staff knows that, and a lot of other people across the state know that. And so I think this pandemic has brought me to the probably the lowest point in my 39 years in the business.
Wow.
And I'll tell the story very quickly, but
Mhm.
it was in October, a couple of years ago on a Friday in the morning, about mid morning.
Mhm.
And, I remember hearing my administrative assistant say, "Boss, are you okay?" She affectionately calls me boss.
Mhm.
Uh, and I remember hearing that in coming to my being.
Mhm.
And then I remember saying, "No, I'm not." Then I realized I was standing at the copier that was just to the right of her desk,
Mhm.
and have no idea how long I've been standing there. But she saw something, and I felt at that point I felt something. It was a weight, just a lot of weight, and there
Mhm.
was no one event that caused this to happen.
Okay.
Um, but um, but I wasn't in a good spot at that point,
Yeah.
and so simply went to my office and started working through some things mentally, and this kind of is an indicator of the team that I have in our office. We have 9 other people,
Yeah.
administrative assistants and then administrators. And one by one, they came in and shared encouraging words and just visited with me,
Wow.
lifted me up. And by the end of the day, I was okay. I wasn't well, but I was okay.
Yeah.
And, was able to go home and just continue to work through things later on that school year. I made an intentional piece to go to every PLC that we had in the district
Wow.
and tell that story to our staff. And at the end of it, I told them, I said, the intent of this is to let you know it's okay not to be okay,
Wow. That's
that
so
we're
powerful.
all going to hurt. We're
Yeah.
all got burdens. We all reach a point.
Wow.
Don't be like me and get to that point.
Mm.
Acknowledge that you're struggling. Acknowledge that this is beating down on you. Take
Right.
days when you need to take days.
Sure.
We had a lot of tears. Joseph had a lot of tears in those rooms.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it was therapeutic for me to continuously tell that story.
Yeah.
Then it was good for our staff, and so I think that was good. For a family, I've got a daughter that's in education,
Oh,
uh,
okay.
fifth grade ELA art teacher in Northwest ISD, Sendera Ranch Elementary up in the Fort Worth area.
Oh, okay.
Her husband's a head baseball coach at Northwest High School.
Wow.
Um, I have 4 grandchildren that 3 of them that attended school up there, and so I saw the struggle from her standpoint,
Sure.
from my daughter's standpoint of
Mm.
struggling through it and pushing and reaching a point where she said that she didn't know if she was going to continue. She's better now. She's going to continue.
That's okay.
For our district, we've seen teachers leave because of it.
Mhm.
Um, we've seen kids pull back because of it.
Yeah.
Uh, we've seen um, families struggling through it.
Yeah.
But I think also we've seen some brightness through it. We've seen some refinement.
Okay.
We've seen ourselves working through it and deciding enough's enough and we've got to move.
Mm.
Uh, this last year, we vowed to our students that we weren't going to sit still, that we were going to move forward. And so academically, we continued to push. Academically, we continued to try to grow. It was hard on some days, but at some point we had to move. If not, we were going to get into this piece that it was just going to be this COVID slide and we would never come back. And
Wow.
so I'm proud of our district in the sense that it decided that it was just going to continue to move forward. We were still empathetic. We were still there for our staff. We actually had provided counseling for our staff members
Okay.
this last year. We provided counseling for students that needed counseling above and beyond what we typically have done. And so I think that piece is important.
Sure.
But I think we're starting to realize that we can do a lot of things that we didn't realize we could do before the pandemic. Um,
Yes.
and so I think there's some good in this. There's some good in this that we're going to
Right.
see as we move forward.
So true. You know, the Chinese symbol for crisis is danger on one side and opportunity on the other side. So I
Yes.
think this pandemic is both, right? Like it's
Yeah.
definitely some danger, and there were a lot of people that were really impacted in a negative way by the pandemic. You know, lives were lost, so it was definitely danger. But also, like you said, I feel like it's been an opportunity for our profession as a whole to, get better in some areas that we really needed to get better in. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that. And also, thank you for your vulnerability and just your transparency and just kind of sharing your own struggle during this pandemic. And I know that what you shared is going to resonate with a lot of people that are watching right now. So thank you so much for that.
You bet. You bet.
Sometimes our K-12 profession gets a bad rap. And after hearing a story like what you just shared, I don't know why, because we have some amazing people in K-12 education. But why do you believe that K-12 education is such a noble profession?
Well, I think I honestly believe it's the best profession that we could possibly get into. It is we are dealers of hope.
Ooh,
And we
love
talk a
it.
lot about that we're dealers of hope.
Sure.
We have a lot of kids that come to us that they don't have much, and
Mm,
it's across the United States.
sure.
They come with gaps, they come with issues, they come with problems and challenges, and it's our opportunity to give them hope. It's our opportunity to give them an outlet and an opportunity to be loved. And so
Mm,
I think that's so important. I think the other piece, and we talked about this, I think it was, oh, it wasn't this last convocation, but it was a convocation before.
okay.
As educators, we can either be archaeologists or architects.
Hmm. Okay.
As an archaeologist, you dig up the past,
Ooh.
you study the past,
Okay.
and you resurrect the past.
Mm,
As an architect, you design the future and you design what you want,
mm,
design what's going to be perfect. You dream and you say what could be. And so I think as an educator, and I think this is what what really makes it a noble profession, is
mm.
we have that opportunity to be an architect, to
Wow.
really dream, to really say what could be
Mm,
and what could we do. And that's, as a superintendent, I think that's the most important question that I have a chance to ask is, what if? And so I do a lot of what ifing. I say, what if we did? What if we did? And pose those questions. And so I think that allows us, as we think about dealing in hope
mm.
and being an architect and designing the future,
Hmm.
that makes it a noble profession.
Woo! When you said that, that gave me chills. And I don't get chills much, but that is so powerful and so profound. Thank you so much for sharing that. I will use that, but I will give you 100%
You can
credit.
have it. And Joseph, one of the things that I told our staff when I was giving this talk to them was that archaeologists, and there's a benefit to archaeologists.
Sure, sure.
They have a purpose. And and I said, if you're an archaeologist in education, you're digging up the past and you're trying to resurrect the past. And I said, it's the very same past that you were griping about
Mm,
before the pandemic.
mm.
You were saying, we don't want this, we don't want this, we don't like this.
Right, right,
But
right,
now
right.
you want back what you were condemning before the pandemic because the pandemic's worse than what you had.
Wow.
And so what we constantly try to do is go back to what we're comfortable, where
Mm,
we feel the comfort and what we know. Change is hard. Change is difficult, but change is going to happen no matter what.
so true.
Progress is an option. Growth is an option,
Sure.
but change is going to happen. And if we're architects, we control the change. If we're archaeologists, the change is going to control us.
Mm, that is so powerful. Ooh, thank you so much for sharing that. That's why I have you on the show, Superintendent Stanford. Oh my goodness, all these golden nuggets.
Uh,
Wow. So you've been in this for 39 years. How much longer do you see yourself working in K-12 education?
well, at least till Monday. We got a board workshop on Monday, and then probably on Tuesday because we have a board meeting on Tuesday looking at the conceptual design of our bond package. But now, honestly, right now I'm having a blast. I'm having fun. I love the challenge. I love the pieces that we're trying to put together. My wife and I've talked about it. I think 5, 6 years, and then
Okay.
it's evaluation time at that point, and
Sure.
we're figuring out. I don't know that I'm ever going to disconnect. Uh,
Okay.
I think there's going to be something that I will always be connected to education in some role because, quite honestly, anytime I start, even when I've started verbalizing how long I thought I had, it starts to scare me. I
Mm,
am scared to death of retirement. I need that challenge. I need something. I'm not going to sit on my porch forever. I think for a month it would be great, but
sure, sure.
then I don't think it would. I just don't think it'd play well in my life. And so I will say that I'm going to go as long as I'm stoked and charging out the door and ready to go and to solve a problem. That's kind of my guide right now. But the day that I don't want to do that, the day that I'm sitting there going, man, I don't want to solve this problem, is the day that I'm going to go to Austin and figure out how to retire. Because I've watched that. I've seen educators like that.
Mm,
Oh, and I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that one that's showing up but not showing up.
mm.
That's taking up space and just drawing a paycheck. I can't do that.
No, I get it.
Uh,
I get
my
it.
daddy taught me too much about integrity and too much about working and too much about putting in a full day's of work. Uh, I just couldn't do that.
Yeah. So, you have one of the most demanding jobs in all of K-12 education. You're a superintendent. And I'm sure there are people that are watching, myself included, that may want to aspire to that position one day. But we see all that a superintendent goes through. How would you share with us how we can maintain work-life balance if we ever aspired or actually got into that role of a superintendent?
Yeah, yeah, and I think quite honestly, that's a challenge.
Okay.
Um, and I think the challenge really comes in, and so I listen to John Gordon a lot, and he has a Positive You podcast, and I'd encourage all the listeners to find that podcast. And he was visiting with, and I wish I could remember who was on his podcast, and so they
Hmm.
started talking about work home balance.
Okay.
And John Gordon said, and I subscribe to this 100%. There is no such thing as a balance. No
Wow.
such thing as a balance.
Okay.
You cannot balance it. And I think that's what frustrates people is when
Okay.
they say they want to balance it. And what he proposed, and I actually subscribed to this and was visiting with somebody about this just the other day.
Okay.
You have to find the rhythm. You have
Okay.
to find the rhythm. And so what I try to do is when I'm at work. And and we use this phrase in our district, be where your feet are. And
Okay.
so when my feet are at work, I'm at work. When I'm at the house with Marla, I'm at the house with my wife.
Sure.
And I unplug as much as I possibly can. And I was challenged this last week at a TASA Tech Ed Fest conference to
Hmm.
unplug even more. But I think you find the rhythm. And
I
so
love that.
sometimes work takes more time. And so you have to devote it. Sometimes you have challenges at your house, sickness, trips, things like that. And that takes more time, but you have to be wherever you're at
I love it.
and devote yourself, your energies to where you're at. So when you're home, you devote yourself to your wife, to your kids, to whatever it is, to yourself during that time. Um, we're gonna set up some parameters this next year. So give you a glimpse into what we're gonna do this next year.
Okay.
I'm going to set the parameters that at 5 o'clock every day, communications cease amongst our leadership team
Mm,
unless it's an emergency.
I love it.
It doesn't start until 7 o'clock the next morning. So from 5 p.m. to 7 a.m., there will be no communication with the leadership team unless it's an emergency. On
Love
the
it.
weekend, 5 o'clock on Friday, 7 o'clock on Monday,
Mm,
unless there's an emergency. I even talked to my board president about this. So we're going to try to take that even to the team of 8 level, that we're going to set those parameters also. I think that's so that we can be where our feet are and not get into these little things. As leaders, sometimes we create artificial emergencies because we ask somebody, hey, how's this project going? When we really don't need to know. And all of a sudden, that direct report thinks, oh my gosh, this is an emergency. And they start scrambling to get stuff together. And we
wow.
got to be careful. So I think a person that's aspiring to this, I'm saying, let's get together. I will sit and I will visit with you. I love to visit about it. I will tell you why you need to do it. The
Wow.
K-12 education needs strong leaders that are ready to lead. So let's get it done.
I love it.
And then subscribe to finding the rhythm, be where your feet are for 100% in to whatever you're supposed to be pouring into.
Amazing advice. Thank you so much for sharing that. Wow, Superintendent Stanford, you have been in this profession for 39 plus years. If you had to do it all over again, would you still have made the decision to work as a K-12 educator?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that reflecting, and I've reflected a lot. You have
Yeah,
a lot of time to reflect in 39 years.
sure.
Um, I probably would have moved faster into administration. Now, I will say that the path that I went was great, and I think it gave me great experience. Probably would have moved faster. And so I think that's the other encouragement to people that are listening, people that are thinking, is don't wait. When you start getting that dream, when you
Mm,
start getting that urge, start exploring, start getting it, get there. Reach out to me. I'll visit with you. I
awesome.
will ask you the guiding questions to find out if you're ready.
Mm,
I will help you get to that point. But I encourage you, when you're ready, go. I
awesome.
was ready 6 years before I did it, and I didn't do it. And I didn't do it. Now, I don't regret everything I learned in that 6 years,
Sure.
but the reflection piece says I should have done it.
That's powerful. Yeah, my story is very similar. I was a teacher. I was a coach. I love being in the classroom. I love coaching.
Yeah.
You're right. Like for 12 years, I was able to, move into administration, and I was ready, truthfully, at least 5 to 6 years like you before I actually did that. So yeah, when I look back on my, not 39 plus years, but when I look back on my 20 plus years, I have the same thought. Like I definitely could have moved in it a lot earlier. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. But I just want to thank you, period. And I want to acknowledge you and honor you for all the good work that you're doing on behalf of the students in your community. And I truthfully created this platform to showcase K-12 educators like yourself. And I'm so grateful that you came on the show and you were so transparent and you were so, if I could use the word, vulnerable, and just sharing some of the struggles that have happened in your career during the pandemic. And I just know that there's somebody that's looking at us right now that is getting tremendous value out of what you shared, and definitely want to acknowledge and honor you for all of your work as a K-12 educator. And also, I definitely see K-12 consulting in your career for leaders. So I definitely will sign up myself because you definitely have a lot of wisdom that you could share and really help, aspiring leaders and current leaders as they go through some of the struggles that every K-12 leader goes through. So thank you so much.
Oh yeah. And everybody goes through it.
Yeah,
Everybody goes through it. And we have to acknowledge the struggle
absolutely.
for us to get better. We can't overcome what we don't acknowledge.
For sure. As they say, the struggle is real.
It is. Yes.
Yes. Superintendent Stanford, I want to thank you so much for coming on the My K-12 Career Show today. But before you leave, would you please give our viewers some parting words of wisdom? Tell us how we can connect with you, and then we'll say goodbye.
Well, Joseph, I just want to tell you how much I appreciate having the opportunity just to visit and connect with you. You fill me, you fill my cup every time I get a chance to visit with you.
Thank you.
You're an encouragement, and what I think the parting words of encouragement would be, you know, as you as you think about the days, remember your why.
Mm,
Remember why you got into this. And I think as long as our why is big enough,
sure.
our challenges will never overcome us. And so we
Mm,
have to continuously go back to our why, continue to look at that why and make that why so big that the challenge, we can't even see the challenge. We just see the why. And so, just, I think that's the encouragement. You can, connect with me on Twitter, at Wade Stanford, on Instagram, at Wade.Stanford.
okay.
And then I'm on LinkedIn. Also, you can search for me on there, connect with me on any of those three platforms. Reach out to me. Love to sit and visit with you. Uh, Definitely love to dedicate some time to any administrator or person that's aspiring to be an administrator. Let's just spend some time together.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much for coming on the show. It was so great talking with you and connecting with you again. Full transparency, many moons ago, you came on my podcast and you were amazing then and you're amazing now. And I really am grateful for you coming on. Thank you so much.
Thank you a bunch. I appreciate it.
All right. All the best.